Hey everybody, it's Bill from the Citrep Podcast, and I'm coming to you with the first episode of To Buy or Not to Buy, where I spend my money to find out if you should spend yours. In today's episode, we're going to look at the unboxing of the Rubicon Models, the Bell UH-1Bs, and the option of the UH-1 HUEY. This is the famous helicopter from Vietnam on to modern times. They're still flying. Not in the U.S. Army, per se, but they're still flying around the world. So, we'll be right back with a look inside the box.
Big Duke 6 Eagle thrust. Put on sidewall up, sing it loud. And the Romeo Foxtrot, shall we dance?
You are listening to the Citrep Podcast, your source for everything related to historical wargaming. Whether you are looking for the latest wargaming news, reviews, painting tutorials, or playthroughs, you will hear about it right here. So grab your favorite beverage or brush and let's hit it.
Alright guys, here we are, back with the Rubicon Models, the Bell UH-1B, and the option for the UH-1 HUEY. This is a model of an aircraft that's near and dear to my heart. I first got to experience the Huey back in the mid-1970s. My dad was lucky enough not to be drafted during the Vietnam War. So in '74, he joined the U.S. Army and went to flight school and became a Huey helicopter pilot. He actually flew other aircraft as well. He flew the Huey, he flew the Chinook, the CH-47. He flew the OH-6, he flew the Kiowa. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, I cannot remember what the Kiowa actual model number was. And he flew Blackhawks, the UH-60s. When I was young, we were living at Fort Riley, Kansas, and when we have family come visit us, my dad would take people down to the airfield to look at the aircraft, and I would always go with. It got to the point where I could climb into the pilot seat over here and knew how to turn on the battery, knew how to get everything going to, essentially start up the helicopter. Fell in love with flying and fell in love with helicopters at a very early age. Unfortunately, I did not heed my dad's best advice, which was to be patient. And when I joined the Army, I missed the cutoff score for flight school by 1 point. And instead of taking his advice by waiting 6 months, because he needed 6 months before he could retest, I got talked into doing other things in the Army, and I regret not listening to my dad and not being able to fly. I did end up being a crew chief on Hueys and Blackhawks later in the Reserves and National Guard, but I really just wanted to be a helicopter pilot. I used to draw helicopters, I used to make paper models of aircraft, the cargo bay of the Chinook. So this model here is near and dear to my heart. So I was very excited to see when Rubicon Models came out with this. My question is it more of a model? Is it more of a miniature for playing? Will it hold up? So we're going to take a look at the model today, and then in part 2, I will assemble it and I'll give you my thoughts and the final determination of whether to buy or not to buy. So let's go ahead and get started in this, shall we? Alright, as you can see, this is the front of the box, and it tells you it's a Bell UH-1D model or the H model, which is the later, obviously, model. On the side, you do have very nice graphics, and this is the 11 ACR Air Cav Regiment, famous of the Black Horse Troop back in the day. On the back is a very extensive explanation about the Huey, and the nice thing is over on this side, sorry, left is right or left in the camera world, you see a very detailed decal sheet included, transfer decals, and then they talk about paints needed for painting this. The nice thing about a Huey is it's pretty simple. It's mostly like olive drab or army green, black, and maybe some metallics, for the mount here. But, and then if you really want to get fancy, you can paint the interior. So I'm interested to see how this looks inside the box and what are the options. So why don't we crack open the box and we'll take a look at the information sheet, instruction sheet first. So before we do that, let me, I'm going to read this here on the front of the box. It's hard for me to read in the camera looking at the monitor, so I'm going to have to turn the box, and I apologize. But let's take a look at what that says, shall we? So you get the option to build either a D model or H model with full interior, which I think is cool. The side doors can be assembled to open or close. Most times in Vietnam and thereafter, we flew with the doors open. Chris, who's a member of the Sit Rep podcast team, originally started in the Army as a crew chief on Hueys before he transitioned to civil affairs later in his career. But him and I have a very long-standing love affair with this helicopter. He got to be a crew chief on it much longer than I ever did. When I first went to an aviation company in Indiana in the National Guard, we had Hueys, and we were literally transitioning to the Black Hawk before I moved back to Chicago. Once I was in Chicago, I was with a Black Hawk company, the first of the 106, Pete Bravo company out of the Chicago Midway Airport, which was an amazing flying experience, flying downtown Chicago. And then later on, I flew with the 832nd medical company out of Wisconsin, and they had Hueys. They were still Hueys when I first got there, and then we transitioned to Blackhawks later. But let's open this up and see what we got. So like I said, you get the side doors, clear window parts, of course, and then you get options to build either a troop or cargo transport. The medevac with 6 stretchers. Cabin windows include the M60D, the 213 machine guns, the M134 minigun, the M129 grenade launcher, and then you can have external mounts of miniguns, missile pods, and M60s. Comes with 2 pilots, 2 gunners in Vietnam War era uniform, and optional tilt and swivel support display stand. Tilt and swivel support, the display stand is not included. So I'm interested to see where this is going to fall in here. So, alright, put the box off to the side. There's all the screws, clear screw, and then right here is the booklet. And the booklet, oh, wait a minute, here's the transfer details. Let's see if I can get these in the camera for you so you can see. As you can see, you can play or model this as the United States Army, the U.S. Marines, the Navy, the Royal Australian Air Force, because they were in Vietnam with us. So you have their markings as well. You've got some the Playboy, I can't remember what unit that was, but you got the 11th ACR over here. They are, I'm sorry, to the side here. You've got my, when you first get into the military, you kind of get like your home division or regiment, whatever. And mine was the 82nd Airborne, so they have that as an option as well. They have the 101st. They have the 23rd Infantry, the Tropic Lightning. Let's see what else they got. Looks like Royal Australian Air Force, the 173rd, that's the herd right there. You got the 1st Cav up here. So you get pretty much representative of most of the big divisions that were in Vietnam that were flying. You got your control panels. Looks like you got kangaroos here to mount, you know, if you're doing the Royal Australian Air Force. Just a really nice set of stickers, or not stickers, transfers. So, really nice. So I'll give you one more nice close look at that. Put that aside. Then we'll look at the booklet here. So, nice artwork in this. Let's see, they show you the Model D Iroquois. So, the true name of this helicopter is not the Huey, it is the UH-1 Iroquois. All the helicopters in the U.S. Army are named after American Indian, Native American tribes, hence the Black Hawk, the Kiowa. The OH-6 is not really the little bird, it's the Cayuse, which is a very small tribe. The Chinooks was an Indian tribe of the Pacific Northwest. The Apaches, obviously, is pretty self-explanatory. The only one that kind of went off is the Cobra, but I think there's actually a different name for it, but it ended up being the Cobra, so I'll have to look that one up. But so you do have the options of building the Iroquois models, the D model, the H model. You can build a medevac. You can build the gunship with the external pods. And you can do the one with the external cabin with the door gunners here if you wish. So this is a, let's see if they number the pages here. They do not. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 page booklet. 16 page if you count the front cover. 16 page booklet. Sorry. So let's take a quick look inside, shall we? So inside, obviously, it's your pretty standard instructions on how to assemble the tail boom, the cabin, the floor, the controls, all that. If you've ever built a model, any Revell model at all, you will notice these. A monogram, Revell, testers, Maya, any of those. So pretty self-explanatory stuff. Let's see what else I have here. And it just gives you the different options, how to build door guns and all that there. Alright, so let me look at that final page here. I like how they got all the options laid out for you, so you can see all the different iterations of the Huey, and as well as they do lay out all the screws for you, so you can easily find the parts you're looking for. Rubicon Models does an excellent job of layout of their instruction manual. All right, with that aside, so here, I guess I should have brought a knife. I don't know why I didn't, but we'll go ahead and open up the packaging. It's pretty good packaging too. It's not cheap. All right, so here's your clear acrylic panels. These are your nose cone. These are your windshields. These are your pilot doors. These are your overhead glass, the skylights above the pilots, and these would be your door windows. These are for the big sliding doors, and these are for the little secondary auxiliary doors. The auxiliary doors are actually right here. If I get my finger to work the right way, right there where my finger is, that is an auxiliary door. That actually opens, so you can make this a wider cargo space to load stretchers, whatnot. So looks really nice and clear. We'll put it aside. So, like I said, my question is this more a model or is it a miniature? And to be honest with you, it's pretty hefty plastic. My always big concern is the rotor blades. You know, they always are pretty flimsy. They're pretty thick. I don't know if you can hear that. But these seem pretty robust. And let's see if you can see the detail on there. As you can see, that'll paint up nicely with some, you know, if you want to get some pin wash in there. Here. And let's see, we have the cabin itself. And so here you have the, looks like that is the floor. Right there's the center controls. The cockpit, those are usually, that's all the radios are right here. And then you have, or no, I'm sorry, stand corrected. That is the overhead. That's the overhead controls. You have overhead here. You have the pilot seats here with the center console. And then you have the underside of the belly of the aircraft. That's where a hook usually goes, a cargo hook. You have the noses here. So this gives you two iterations depending on which model you're building. Those are not guns, by the way. Those are pitot tubes. Pitot tubes is what indicates air. That's how you tell airspeed, is by pitot tubes. You have troop seats right here. You can see that. And then we have some more cargo panel doors here. I'm assuming that's like the back and things. I'd have to look at that bit closer, but first glance, that's what it is. And then you have your cockpit here as well. And you have the mast right here. That's what this is called. It's called the mast, the rotor mast right there. And these are counterweights to help balance out when the rotors are spinning. It helps to keep everything from being under control and not wobbling and all that. And then you have your landing gear here. So I actually watched my dad do what's called a run-on landing. They practice it once in a while they have to, keep proficient in things. So if they do emergency drills, so they'll do like auto rotations, simulate auto rotation stuff and they will do run-on landings with skids, where they'll actually come in and land on the runway on the skids. I've seen them do it. Which is pretty cool. So there you go. And then, yeah, these are troop seats. It looks like right here. All right, let's move on to the next. Okay, so here we got a lot of, looks like we got the stretchers right here. It's the medic option. Those are stretchers. That is the stabilator right there. Yeah. Is that the stabilator? It looks like it's. It's the back. And they must go through the tailbone. I don't know. I'll have to look see what that is, because that looks awfully big. That's what it looks like. And then you have the pilots, or these might be the gunners. It's hard to tell right here because they're in pieces. Sorry, right there. And then you have, these look like control panels, actual control panels here, nicely detailed. And that's part of the dash right here. It's part here. I'll see if I can get an angle on it. Is actually the top of the dash. So the part that curves over that holds, it's like the sun visor. Engine, transmission hub, seats. So pretty nicely detailed. Cyclic and collectives. So your cyclics is what controls the rotor disc, and the collective is what brings the power in. It's you turn for power, and it makes how the discs or the blades turn to bring power and lift. So it increases and decreases your altitude. Very nice. Like I said, it's pretty heavy. It's not like a monogram or a Revell model. It's got some punch to it. So I think it will survive playability. I mean, obviously you still have to be careful with it. But, So here we have, looks like mounts. You got, those look like Ma Deuces there. I don't know if you can see those real good. But that looks like a Ma Deuce. And then you have your miniguns right here. These are all miniguns. You got your weapons platforms right there. You got M60Ds right there. Basically, it's an M60 and it's modified so the back has a dual handle and there's a flapper trigger, this paddle trigger. So when you have your thumbs like this, you push that paddle with your thumbs and that's what shoots, that's what fires. So when you're going into a fire, the pilot or co-pilot will tell you you're cleared to fire, and that way they know that you're firing, so you don't accidentally shoot up into the rotor disc, because that's usually bad. So, but yeah. So that's your weapons platforms. Looks like got some ammo crates right here. So you can really deck this out depending on the model you're making. All right, last sprue. So there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sprues, not including the acrylic. See what we got here. Lots of little pieces on this one. All right, so we've got more pilot parts here. There's torsos, legs, arms, legs, pilot helmets, probably crew helmets. Let's see if I can get a close-up of that for you. If you can see those right there. So yeah, it's all pretty much little detail pieces. The rocket, these would be like the ends with the rockets, and that's the back end. And then the barrels, I'm assuming, are on one of these other ones. Oh, it looks like they're right here. The rocket pod barrels are right here. So, nicely detailed. Really nicely detailed. It'll be interesting how well this goes together. So, one more review. You have this sprue, which has all your little aircrew parts, some of the rockets, some other little tiny parts. Holy moly, are those small. I don't know if you can see that, but that is a fairly part. See that little circle there? Put my thumb in the front of it and I'll open it up and see it. Those are like the size of a pencil head. They're so small. Good God Almighty. Alright, so that is the unboxing part 1 of Rubicon Models UH-1 D model and H model of the Huey helicopter. Stay tuned for part 2 after I assemble. I don't know which model I'm going to do yet, but once I get the iteration, there'll be a video that shows the construction. There'll be a time-lapse video with a little narrative to it, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on whether to buy or not to buy. We'll see you then. Take care.